Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. We have ozone, we have waves, we have green colors, we have the review of Christian Dior's Ballade Sauvage, the eau de parfum fragrance by François Demachy, released in 2018 under the Christian Dior Maison Dior fragrance lineup. This one, just like all the new ones, is meant to be layered, experimented with, mixed and combined with others of their lineup, and they have quite a few. Dior, in fact, is starting to discontinue some of them because I guess they bit off more than they can chew of their own market. Interesting. Anyway, the background, as always, you know by now, I select them and choose them according to what the smell inspires me, more or less. We have a Vivienne Westwood backdrop here with a very particular threading of wool. Very, very complex, very delicate. This is a sweater. This is a squiggle pattern on a sweater. And these colors will come in handy when describing this fragrance. Let's spray it on right away. This, by the way, is a 40 milliliter spray bottle. Some of you have been asking me after you've seen my review of Dior Amour. By the way, you can check out the review of Dior Amour in the cards up here, or the link is in the description box under the video. It's a 40 ml spray bottle. These are quite rare. They don't always sell them. They don't always have them. Sometimes they even tell you gotta buy 3 at once, different perfumes if you want, but in order to be able to purchase them, sometimes they let you buy just one. They are only available in the Maison Dior boutiques, not on the Dior website. At least I haven't seen them yet. So they're kind of rare, and you have to ask the sales associates if they have them, because they're not just going to readily show them to you. So this is a 40 ml spray bottle. Top notes. Okay, fig, 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 tree, ozone, the smell of air, the smell of ocean. That's what this is. And as I mentioned also in my Dior Amour fragrance, Demachy wants to give us the impression with these fragrances of a story rather than telling us the ingredients that are inside. But the second I smell this one without even the sales associate telling me what's in here or suggesting to me or hinting at what could be in here, I immediately already thought and said, oh, fig. And then she was like, oh my God, how did you know? I'm like, oh, whatever, you know what I mean? But anyway, so let's get into the top notes. We have something that is called the ozonic notes. Now, Dior keeps repeating, they don't do aldehydes, they don't do aldehydes, they go for the natural, they go for the natural. Okay, fine. But what is an ozonic note? Something that's supposed to sparkling fresh air. The second you say sparkling to me, I say aldehydes. Now here I don't smell any aldehydes, to be honest with you. I do smell air and vast, vast fresh blue skies. Definitely. Another thing that is in the opening note is petit grain and bergamot. Then we go to the middle notes with fig tree, rose, orange blossom, Hidion, and fig. So we got fig and fig tree. As well as peach, something that they define as solar notes. So after the sky and ozone note, we got the solar notes. And after the solar notes, we got the sea notes, also in the mid portion of this fragrance. And then in the base notes, we get that classic Demachy vanilla. We get amberwood, something that they call pebbles, and labdanum. Now pebbles, well, when I was a kid, pebbles on the seashore, they were always, you know, washed by salty water. So again, to me, I guess it's just salty rocks on a beach shore, which is connected to the middle note, which was the sea note. So, but it is rather sweet to me, to be honest with you, more sweet than not. If I were to go on a holiday of sorts, I don't know, some sort of trip, in the Mediterranean, which is probably the inspiration for this one. And actually, the sales associate did tell me the exact story of the exact tree, Demachy traveling somewhere to the south of Italy and being inspired by this play. I don't know, maybe it was even Strombo. I don't know. I don't want to make any mistakes and misquoting people, but you get the gist. Yada, yada. Don't tell me too much of the story. If you're going to review a fragrance, tell me where it takes you. But if you're the creator of the fragrance, let me dream a little. Give me that space to be able to envision it for myself. That is very important, because if you, it's like, I don't know if you guys are like that, but what really annoys me is when somebody makes a movie or a painting on a wall, or has to show you a photo shoot that they made, whether it be a fashion photo shoot or an art photo shoot, and then they ask you for your opinion, they want you to look through them, and then you start looking through them, and then they start immediately explaining. And I'm just like, no, I don't explain anything. First, I want to get the impression on my own. I want to feel it. I want to see if it tells me something. Don't ruin this experience by telling me what your intentions are. If your intentions transpire through the actual product that we're seeing, the art piece that we're seeing, good. But guess what? An art piece, and I do believe perfumery is an art form, an art piece is like a baby you give birth to as the artist, and once the baby is out in the open in the world, it assumes a life of its own. This means that you have to learn to let go, and you have to also learn that all sorts of different people will experience the fragrance or the art piece, whatever that art piece may be, in many different ways. And you have to allow that to happen, because the art piece has a will of its own, if you may. It will talk to different people in different ways. Same applies to fragrances. So I told, as politely as I could, to the sales associate, please step back. I didn't say step back. I said, please just give me a moment here alone with the fragrance. I just want to let it in before we get to the whole story. But it was a bit too late, because she in fact already told me a couple of those details that I didn't want to hear. It's like spoiler alert. Before you go to see the movie, they tell you the whole plot line. No, I don't want that. I want to experience it on my own. Okay, let's smell it. Fig, peach, rose to me. Mostly. It's really fig, jasmine, orange blossom. I don't get too much of the vanilla in the opening notes. I don't get the labdanum. For me, it's fig, but it's and there's an aspect to this fig that is also artificial. It has a natural quality to it, this fragrance per se, but a lot of its strength, because it does have longevity. This is not a light fragrance that's gonna just evaporate after 10 minutes. It is simple in its composition, perhaps, but it's definitely not a fleeting one. It's going to, on me, it sticks around for at least 6-7 hours. And so what is particular to note is that despite it being simple in its structure, it holds on to the skin, and to me, it feels like it holds on to the skin because of the artificial ingredients in here. And so, unfortunately, this is the problem I have with Ballade Sauvage. At a certain point, you smell out that artificial note. You smell out the artificiality of it. And now, whether or not this is something that we can live with, it's up to you. I personally can live with it, because the fig and the fig tree are so wonderful, and they're just amazing for me to smell, that I can just, forget about the rest. At the same time, many people are not fans of fig. But now, then the taste of a fig, and I also like to eat figs, even though they're full of sugar and it's really hard, but anyway, whatever. I also like chocolate. If you got to choose between chocolate and fig, the fig is obviously a healthier solution than the chocolate if you're on a diet. They're both bad for you, but you know what I mean. Taste-wise, the fig doesn't taste as the fig smells. But if in perfumery you're used to smelling fig, and you're used to that component of fig, or the fig tree, or the fig bark, a lot of different fragrances use it in many different ways, you immediately train your nose to smell out certain ingredients, and you train your nose to smell out fig immediately. And this one is the highest dose of fig I've ever seen. There's also Diptyques Philosicos in Eau de Toilette form and Eau de Parfum form, also a very, very clear fig, also in that case extremely artificial smelling. This one smells more natural to me than the Diptyque version. And then you have more Dior figs, like for example, the fig bark that we have here in Dune. I've done a review of Dune pour Homme, gorgeous fig scent here. Be sure to check out the review of this one, either in the card section up there or in the description box down below is the link to Dune. Another Dior fig mass release product. So the artificiality of this one is quite different to their niche range, the Maison Dior. So in the case of Ballade Sauvage, let me smell it again. a different type of fig. And also because, I mean, first of all, came out 2018. Dior has learned its lesson. What does this mean? They market this fragrance as a unisex. So they already tell you from the get-go, this is targeted to men and women. And this one has a big old sticker on it, or not sticker, but a print on it. It says pour homme, for men, but also extremely unisex. Anyway, but these were other times. We're talking 90s and early 2000s, different story. But check out the review, because I go into history with that one. Ballade Sauvage projects quite well. Actually, it projects more than Dior Amour. Dior Amour has really good longevity too, but it stays quite close to the skin. It has light and darkness in it. It's that femme fatale in some sort of way, because it lures you in and then it cuts your throat when you're inside. So Dior Amour is that amazing. Ballade Sauvage projects more. It's as if you really are at some sort of beach. Yeah, at this point, let's just call it the Mediterranean. And you have the breeze of the Mediterranean Sea, just blowing whiffs of that scent, of that salty ocean, not ocean, sea, it's the Mediterranean Sea, of the salty sea. The breeze takes it with you. The rays of light are there. I mean, you put on not body lotion, suntan lotion. So it's mixed a little bit with that as well, and you get all that. It's quite natural in a way, and that's how it feels. That's how this one projects. It projects as if from your skin a wind would be transporting it away from you. So that's why it has good projection. So thematically speaking, they have developed this one and composed it quite well, because they do allow that sensation. They give you that illusion of it floating away from you, but it doesn't run away from you. So it's still there, it's present on the skin, and it projects. And that's great for who loves fig. But this is fig, fig, fig. So if you're not into fig, you're not going to like this one. However, not only fig transpires through, what else transpires through is the rose and the peach. Now the peach is an interesting element. And peach just came out in another one of my reviews. Also, be sure to check that one out. I have it here. Mitsuko by Guerlain, the famous Chypre. Link in the card section and the description box down below. Mitsuko has peach in it, but it also has oak moss. What a weird concoction. First time in history that somebody mixed the two. Guerlain was genius. Now, peach here is not placed inside this fragrance in order to create tension, friction. The peach isn't here to disrupt the composition that we're used to. You know, it doesn't, there's no ingredient inside this fragrance that delivers a punch in terms of, oh, wow, I'm smelling out something new that I've never smelled before. You don't get that here. What you do get here, however, is delicately, masterfully blended, good quality ingredients, whether they be natural or, for the most part, artificial. Even artificial ingredients can be really crappy. So just because we're saying artificial doesn't mean that everything artificial is bad. And let's not forget that even though some things are artificial, every object, every product, every bit of material we produce on planet Earth came from planet Earth. It came from some natural element that is on planet Earth. We learned how to transform elements from one element to the other and create synthetic compositions, but still, the base of everything we have on planet Earth comes from planet Earth, or comes from something that nature has built. So anyway, it's a very philosophical topic, I guess, asking ourselves, what's the border between artificiality and natural? Everything is natural. Everything comes from this earth. Everything came from this planet, what we're building. I mean, even in the case, if we really want to be geeky about it and say, well, sometimes when a meteor falls on planet Earth, it brings objects from outer space to planet Earth. Maybe sometimes you can build something out of those objects too, but that's fine. Let's just not say that everything comes from planet Earth, but everything comes from nature. And nature isn't just bound to planet Earth. Nature is the cosmos, this universe, it's everything. So everything is natural. Even the artificial is natural, if you really think about it. So in this case, I would say blend it in a way to make it feel as natural as it can. Even though this is a Maison Dior fragrance, it's still, for perfumery terms, it's still a mass-released product because it's available almost worldwide, and you know, you can definitely find it readily available, and also you can order it on the Dior website. So it's not like we're talking about a product that's produced only 20 bottles every year. There's no real limitation there. They produce as much as there is request, and if there's no demand for it, be sure that they will discontinue it. So it's also fascinating to review fragrances like this one, because who knows? Maybe in 5 years' time, Ballade Sauvage will only be a memory, a fleeting memory, just like the fleeting memory of a fragrance once it leaves the skin for good. And after its last dry down, just evaporates. I'm smelling it now again. It assumes a more, and this is fascinating by Ballade Sauvage, I've noticed this also through wearing it a lot. I mean, you can see this bottle is almost empty. It assumes a particular quality of, with time, which is similar to what happens to orris root based fragrances. They bloom more as time passes. This one, in fact, similar. Becomes a bit cloying after some time. It's as if it becomes more, what comes to the forefront is perhaps the amberwood and the labdanum. Probably the amberwood mixed with the vanilla. They kind of take over at a certain point, and they become a bit cloying. Like when you inhale them, there's no more light oceany breeze carrying whiffs of the smell of fig trees anymore. At a certain point, it turns over and it becomes no more wind. It's just the static, that kind of, the amberwood. It's like a static amberwood and vanilla. And it's slightly sweet. It gets a honeyed hue, a honeyed sweet hue. Becomes more rosy as well. Maybe it's the Hidian that kind of plays tricks on my nose, and with the peach as well. That could be an element to this fragrance that in the opening notes and the mid notes doesn't really come to the forefront, but towards the dry down it definitely kicks in. So you do abandon a little bit that little haven of fig trees, and you do go towards the woods. And the woods are ambery, they're resinousy. Amberwood is a resinousy type of smell. Add to that the component of the classic Demachy / Dior vanilla, and you get a bit of a cloying something there. Usually when you cut a fig, not the tree, but the fig itself, it has that white sticky juice that kind of slowly comes out of it. But if you cut a fig tree, you do get, I don't know up to which extent, because with some trees you really get those resins pouring out. They look like gold ambery drops. With the fig tree, I'm not so sure. But if the fig tree were to have something similar, so if you were to cut the bark of that tree, and you would get the bleeding of that tree, that resinousy, those droplets pouring out, which I'm not sure that it does with the fig. But if it does do it, I'm just hypothesizing here, it would give you the illusion of the smell of this one after some time has passed. So conceptually speaking, it's as if in the opening notes, we have plucked the fig, we have cut the tree just to smell it from the bark, we have rubbed the leaves, we got that fresh notion of the smell of that plant in all of its wholeness. But then as time passes, the plant starts protecting itself. That's why the resins come out. That's why it starts remarginalizing all of the cuts that have happened to it. And those juices that the plant produces to preserve itself also have a smell. So it's as if this one has been cut fresh at the beginning, and with time it starts the remargination of sorts of all the wounds of the fragrance, and it becomes a bit more cloying. So conceptually speaking, it fits the concept of the fragrance, but in terms of how it appeals to the nose, tricky, because it becomes a bit more bland. After all is said and done, if we are fine with that more artificial dry down that becomes more bland, we can definitely enjoy a freshness to top and mid notes. A lot of fragrances give us a freshness through a lot of citruses. This one also has, in the opening note, the bergamot, but it doesn't really rely on that bergamot. It doesn't rely on all those citrusy fresh notes in the opening. However, unlike many other fragrances, this one does stay fresh and calmingly cooling and soothing throughout the top as well as the mid notes. A lot of fragrances already in the mid notes lose it and become warm or whatever, something else. But this one has that coolness throughout the first two portions of its lifespan on the skin. So alone for that, I would give it credit. When it hits the dry down, then things become a bit messy. It's still a pleasant dry down. It's just, I would have almost preferred it to just, I don't know, if they would have avoided using the amberwood and the vanilla, but they need something. They need some sort of root or woody or resinousy something in the base note to kind of anchor all of the top things, that all of the composition of everything that's on top. You know, you need something to grab everything into place and just position it at that bottom. So I don't know what else I would have done. I mean, maybe that would have been a breakthrough in perfumery, to not give it base notes, to not give it a dry down, you know, to let it evaporate like a whiff of fresh air. It doesn't need to stay long. I mean, then of course people would complain that longevity isn't good. But then I've explained already in my Dior Amour fragrance review, you don't always need perfumes that come from these big maisons that, you know, where things cost a bit more. It's not just that, okay, I'm paying more for a fragrance, oh, it has to last forever on the skin. I mean, I get it, people want something for their money, but sometimes you have to understand, it's not that you're always paying just for longevity. Sometimes you're paying also for quality, and quality doesn't always mean that something has to be cloying and lasting for 2 days on your skin. I don't associate the two. It's not always true that only what is long-lasting is worth the money. Sometimes stuff that is long-lasting, I just want to wash it off because it's so cheap smelling, it's disgusting, you know? And sometimes something that doesn't stay too long on the skin is so delicious that it's worth every penny, and I just keep repurchasing it. So in a way, I would have really enjoyed seeing Ballade Sauvage as top and mid notes cut off completely the dry down, cut off the bottom notes, maybe leave the pebbles, whatever they understand under pebbles, because they put pebbles listed in the base notes. And there you have it. Would I be repurchasing this one? I don't know. I mean, it took me like, what, almost a year to use up not even one full bottle of 40 ml. I will be sad if it gets discontinued because I do like it quite a bit. What I tend to do when I get to the dry down, I respray just to freshen it up again, so I get these whiffs of the top and mid notes constantly. I don't like to get into the dry down of this fragrance too much. It's fine. I'm not annoyed by it, but it's just not my go-to fragrance. You know what I mean? So you tend to use it up quicker and more. But I do love the fig in here. And if you forget about the mass-released Dune, Pour Homme, I think of the Maison Dior. I mean, they probably have other fragrances with fig, but none of them from the Maison Dior range that are so heavily fig-based as is Ballade Sauvage. So I would be sad to see it go. This is one of those fragrances that I would not mind if they reformulated it, tweaked it, altered it, changed it, just to give other facets to it, other interpretations of it. Why not? And so in that respect, maybe just for archival purposes, I would perhaps purchase a bigger bottle of this one because of all of the new releases. This one and Dior Amour, together with Belle de Jour. By the way, you can check out also my review of Belle de Jour, are the three that merit the purchase. Now, I know that since 2018, even newer ones have been brought out on the market, and I have to also test those as well. But up until now, my favorites are still Eau Noire, Cologne Blanche, the Cologne of Cologne Blanche, and the Cologne of Bois d'Argent. The first three, they're the best. They're just the best. And then of all the newer things that have come out, I love Eau d'Ispahan, first formulation around 2012, 13. And from that kind of wave of new arrivals by Demachy, it's Eau d'Ispahan. And of the newest ones, it's definitely for me Ballade Sauvage, Dior Amour, and Belle de Jour. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked this review of Ballade Sauvage. If you have, please do thumb it up. And let me know what you think about Ballade Sauvage in the comment section down below. Also, if you haven't already but wish to, consider subscribing to my channel here on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. superdacob all spelled together. I'm also on Patreon, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank my patrons for pledging. You keep the channel going. I love you guys so much. Thank you, everybody. Until next time, in one of my next videos, don't you ever forget to never give up on love. Love you all. See you soon. Take care. Bye.